Welcome back to another episode of the Cyber Tech Dave Show. And my name is David Meese, the host, and we have a special guest, and her name is Bandana Kaur. And she's a high school student. She's a cybersecurity researcher, aspiring researcher. She's already has hands on experience securing organizations such as NASA, the U.S. Department of Education, and the Indian government through their vulnerability disclosure programs and the and she's done so many other things like develop networking monitor tools for Microsoft Future Ready while she was an intern there as well. And the awesome thing is that she's only 17 years old and she's already accomplished so much. And Bandana, we would like to again, it's such a pleasure and honor to have you on the show today. And I'd like to start out by asking you about your beginnings in cybersecurity. And I know everyone has a origin story, and I would love to hear that a little bit about your background today for our listeners.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me here, sir. So first, thank you for introducing me to your audience. I'm just going to introduce myself again. I'm Bandana, or as some of the audience might know me, Hack with Her. I'm an aspiring cybersecurity researcher or ethical hacker, and I've helped secure some of the world's most critical systems like NASA, the US Department of Education, the Indian government, and some more. I'm also a mediocre content creator who tricked about 30,000 people into following me on Instagram and about 10,000 on LinkedIn. I've also been a guest lecturer on threat intelligence techniques for Indian government CISOs, and I've spoken to over 500 people aged 8 through 40 on getting started in cybersecurity as a cybersecurity ambassador for the United States National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education. And yes, almost forgot to mention, I just finished high school exams and I'm currently juggling university admissions. So now let me tell you about how I started, and it's a pretty interesting story. So for this one, we're gonna have to travel 5 years back in time to when I was 13 and I had recently just joined Instagram. And of course, being so young and being in middle school on such a platform, I faced some adversities while I was cyberbullied. And that was kind of a huge turning point in my life, both personally and professionally. Because then, because back then I was frustrated that I faced something like that. But now looking back, I realized it was more of a blessing as well. Because that was when I got into coding. And I started programming in Python when I was 13. I used to make simple little projects here and there. Like it was 2020 and we had online classes. So I made a Zoom bot that joined online classes for me at 7 a.m. in the morning, just because I was too lazy to wake up at that time. And I also made little bots for comments on Instagram and stuff. So then, when I was about 14, I started getting into competitive programming on platforms like Geeks for Geeks and CodeChef, HackerRank. I also hold some certifications on those platforms. Then everything was going really well, but there's a twist in the story. So I don't know if you know, but the Indian education system is pretty brutal for students starting in ninth grade. So I had started in ninth grade, and my parents said I need to get a little bit more serious about my academics and put a little halt on the whole coding thing. So, I've always been a girl who knows how to listen to her spidey senses. And in that moment, my spidey senses told me to continue whatever I was doing and show my parents that I can do both. Because I didn't want to disrespect them, but at the same time, I knew I could do it and I just wanted to make them proud. So eventually, I got into open source intelligence. and I read a few blogs about it. And what I found really interesting was how somebody could be geolocated through their Instagram pictures. Of course, being a teen, that was what intrigued me. So then I got into OSINT and CTS through Try Hack Me, and those were really fun. And eventually, in the 10th grade, I ended up being the school topper, and I scored 98%. So there was a picture of me outside the school as well. So yeah, but still, I didn't tell my parents about what I was doing because I was afraid they would be mad at me. But back in August of 2023, when I was in the 11th grade, accidentally they saw my LinkedIn profile. And then my dad approached me, he asked me what I was doing, and I had to tell him. But then, since then, my parents have been the proudest people in the world. And in August, that was when I got my internship as well, which was affiliated with Microsoft. And then I also got on my first podcast when I was 15, and I was discussing how AI will affect the emerging cybersecurity workforce, and that was really fun. Now, fast forward to 3, 4 years later, here we are, and I'm currently working on some research involving adversarial attacks on large language models. So yeah,
Oh,
that's it for my journey.
that's awesome. I love your background and your story and how you just kept pushing yourself and prove to your parents and everyone that you could do this. And I know that they have to be so proud of you to, like you said, and you're in the background, everything you've done, all of the I'm very impressed on the coding skills too that you have, and everything you've done through the like the bug bounty programs and all the different research that you've done in the community, and helping all of the CISOs, like you had mentioned, as you as a
Yeah.
guest lecturer, helping them, and all the OSINT projects that you've done and worked on. But that's amazing. But I'd like to also ask you our next question. What kind of advice would you give students that's trying to like build a portfolio to demonstrate their skills, for someone that doesn't have any formal work experience? What would you say to help them accomplish that?
Yeah, so I think I'm the appropriate person to answer this question because back when I started, building my career in cybersecurity, I hadn't even gone out of middle school. So I read a quote back when I was starting, and it really moved me. It was written in Latin, and it went something like, "I shall either find a way or I'll make one." And I think that should resonate a lot with a lot of students in cybersecurity as well. Because as you might be familiar, there's a catch-22 in cybersecurity where you can't get an entry-level job without experience, and you can't get experience without a job. So I would say that the way to overcome that and get experience without a job is to actually hack the system. So there are plenty of ways to gain experience that you can write on your resume and apply for jobs without actually getting a cliche 9 to 5 job. So you can start solving CTFs on platforms like TryHackMe or Hack the Box. And if you're actively solving those CTFs and posting write-ups and contributing to the community, that can also be counted as work experience. Also, you can start volunteering in your particular niche in the field of cybersecurity. So let's say you're into OSINT, you can volunteer with an organization like NCPTF, or you can help anti-human trafficking organizations that take OSINT volunteers. I know there are plenty of them. And also, one another thing you can do is freelancing. So, like I mentioned, bug bounty hunting and vulnerability disclosure programs, they come under freelancing, right? So, let's say you're into web application penetration testing. You can find and report vulnerabilities for companies that do have bug bounty programs so that you get paid, and side by side, you get some work experience as well. Now, I have personally seen a lot of people who have been bug bounty hunting for 5, 7 years now, and they do count that as work experience, and it has helped them get a job. Now, another thing you can do, which I also do, is content creation. Because, see, if you're actively researching a topic and if you're bringing it to your audience in an entertaining way, I think that's also work experience because you're actively gaining knowledge and contributing to the field. So that can also help you overcome that catch 22 and demonstrate your skills. So, yeah, so if you don't find a job, if you don't find a way, you can always just make one using these techniques.
Oh, I love that, and I love especially how you touched on freelancing on the bug bounty programs because like you said that is experience. Then you can definitely add that to your resume and projects, and you can and I love how you have added all of your experience on your LinkedIn profile as well, like right under experience. I see where you have listed all the different things that you have done, you know, as well, and I love that. And going in, that leads into my next question too. That will help people, students, later find a job in their cybersecurity career. Because we all know in cybersecurity that networking is so important. And I wanted to ask you, as a high school student, how how could you effectively build connections in the field of cybersecurity, and what advice would you give to others looking to do the same?
Yeah, so I would like to preface this by saying that all of the things that I have probably achieved in my professional life, I owe all of them to my parents' contributions and my professional network that I've built on LinkedIn and Instagram and Discord. Because let's be honest, networking brings so many opportunities. And I thought coming from my background and my age, I would never be able to talk to somebody like even you, sir. So networking definitely opens the door for so many things. So I'm not gonna leave you with a very generic piece of advice. I'll give you some actionable tips on how you can actually start networking with people as a student and open the door to opportunities. So first of all, when you're a student, if you have identified which niche of cybersecurity you want to go into, then that's great. But if you haven't, the way to do that is shortlist whatever you're into. Let's say if that's offensive security, defensive security, forensics, and then go to LinkedIn, search for people who work in those roles and text at least 10, 15 people saying how passionate you are about learning from them and ask them specific questions about what they do in their day-to-day lives, what they do in their job, what methodology they follow for their, let's say, investigations or penetration testing, and ask them really specific questions on how to get into that niche. Now, going into messaging people on LinkedIn, there are, of course, a couple of things that you have to remember. There are a lot of people who are willing to help, but of course, nobody owes you their time or their effort. So you have to be polite and you have to be concise. And also, be prepared for rejections, be prepared for failures. And another very important thing is to just be respectful to the other person's time as well. Now, I think that will kind of help you get selected as that will kind of help you select a niche in cybersecurity and figure out what clicks with you and what doesn't. Now, the key to messaging people and cold emailing people in cybersecurity is that you have to show them that you are worth their time and their efforts and that you are willing to learn from them. So that's definitely a very important factor. And yeah, so if you network the right way, you will definitely open the door to so many opportunities. I have myself landed an internship through networking, which I will reveal very soon. And yeah, so that's that's definitely something I would say.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for your advice on that. And going talking about networking. Let's move on to the next question. What would you say? How important do you think personal branding is for cybersecurity students or someone that's already even in the field that might want to transition themselves into a different role?
Yeah, so for those of you who are not familiar with personal branding is basically the process of demonstrating your skills publicly, documenting your learning publicly, and establishing a name for yourself in the industry. Now, uh, I would say personal branding is something that can either make or break your career in cybersecurity, and it's really important to get over that catch 22 as we talked about, and really build a name for yourself in the industry and get invited to speak at conferences. And personal branding also helps you network with people. So, some actionable tips I would give for personal branding is to document pretty much everything you do. If you earn a certificate, post about it. Tag people who have also earned that certificate. And it also ties back together with networking as well. So yeah, I think personal branding is really important, and a lot of people confuse it with content creation. Now, the way that I would segregate the two is that content creation is for entertaining your audience, and personal branding is for building a name for yourself. So that's definitely a core difference between the two. Of course, you can always be like me and do both, but that's just up to you.
I love how you mentioned certifications for and documenting it on making content for personal branding as well. Because actually, I did that when I got my security plus certification. I would document like everything I would do on LinkedIn, like I would read a chapter, then I would, document what I learned, put it out there. So I actually did that as well on the certification. So I love that tip that you just gave. And talking about personal branding, I know you have a cybersecurity research the organization that you have the hack with her. I would love to hear more about that today for the audience that's listening.
Yeah, so Hack with Her is basically what I call my personal brand in cybersecurity. So it's kind of a name for my personal brand, and I'm kind of in the process of figuring out what to do with it. But a general motto that I follow is that I want to make the cyberspace as livable as possible for everyone, whether that looks like helping others secure jobs and gain certifications through my Discord channel, or whether that looks like promoting diversity and promoting accessibility in technology in general, or whether that just looks like content creation. Now, the name Hack with Her is actually pretty interesting because I wanted to express my femininity in a somewhat male outnumbered field. And I want that through my content and through the content that I create, I want to be the person that I wish my 13-year-old self saw when she was starting in technology. And and a really sweet piece of impact that I saw was when I talked to an 8-year-old fan of mine, and she is from the US, and she was so sweet and she loved wearing pink. Hence why I'm wearing pink today as a tribute to her. And
Yeah.
yeah, she loved watching my videos. So basically, I used to make videos explaining networking concepts with analogies like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and stuff,
Oh.
and she really enjoyed my videos. So yeah, that was really sweet, and it kind of reminded me of why I started my personal brand. So yeah, that's basically it for what I'm doing with Hack with Her right now, and I'm also engaged in academia side by side.
Oh, I love that, and the story that is very sweet and heartwarming story about the little 8-year-old girl. And I love how you're just such an inspiration to all the young girls and women out there coming into the field. And such an inspiration, to me as well. And I just want to thank you, for you sharing your experiences and coming on the show, on the podcast today. And also wanted to ask if there's anything else, like how would the audience, the best way to contact you, and if there's anything else that you would like to share, anything that you have that you would like to promote, coming up on your socials channels.
Yeah, so my DMs on LinkedIn and Instagram are always open to anybody who has an opportunity for me or anybody who's looking for guidance or mentorship. And you can always contact me via LinkedIn and Instagram. And I don't really have a website at the moment, so I'm working on that.
All right. Well, again, I'd love to thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hope we can see you again. In the future. So, and just keep. I love what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. So,
Of course, it will be an honor to stay in contact with you and collaborate with you further. Yeah.
all right. Thank you.